What is up, fight fans? I am Jason Burgos for Sports9, and I am joined by one of the best 135-pound fighters on planet Earth. On April 30th, he will compete in his third straight UFC main event, this time against the man known as Marlon Chito Vera. And that man I speak of is one of the captains of the New England cartel, the one and only Rob Font. Robbie, my man, thank you so much for the time today.
I appreciate that, man. You got me hyped with that type of intro, man.
Well deserved. All truths, all fascinating things, because you are a top fighter, and I have so many questions for you. Now, so before we go into the fight with Cheeto, I of course wanted to talk about the Jose Aldo fight. This is a big story. Now, you are an absolute professional student of the game. Now, Daniel Cormier admitted when he fought Anderson Silva a little bit of like that kind of fanboy awe. When you finally get in that octagon with someone the stature of Jose Aldo, is there a moment where it's like, holy crap, I'm about to fight Jose Aldo? And I don't mean it like fear, more just the surrealness kind of shakes the focus on some level, or even after the fight where there's those kind of respect conversations. Is it like, oh shit, I just fought Jose Aldo, this is weird?
I would say more of like when I first got the contract. I was like, all right, so I would say more there. And then once we got into it, once you start feeling like sparring and moving, it was cool. Like, and then when I saw him, it was like, oh yeah, that's just another fighter, But
Yeah.
I'm like, when you first see him, like, oh, it's like for like 2 seconds, you're like, oh, there he is, like. So I would say that it was like when I first got it, and then when I first saw him, it was like, oh, all right. And then after that, everything did feel like, all right, we're just competing again. It wasn't like I was trying to like fight this huge crazy name. Like it was just like just go out there and fight.
Right.
But then obviously afterwards you look at it, you're like, it's pretty cool. Like, watching the play, like, oh
Yeah. That's how exciting it is. It makes you drop the phone.
all right, that's pretty cool. But yeah, honestly, when I first got in there with him the first round, I was good. I was doing my thing, and then there was no like fanboy or shock or
Right.
it was too much. He cracked me, man. Like, he's probably one of the hardest hitters. He cracked me in the first round. I we went back. He dropped me. I could just, from there it was just like I felt like things I usually could see or I would get out of quicker or get out of range quicker. It wasn't happening, and I was getting hit with shots, and then those shots were they just kept adding up, and everything I got hit with, it was just like rattling me. I could put it in my legs, and it was just a bad night.
Yeah. And I know, you have to, in a way, prepare for, like, the best version of him, like, almost WEC Aldo. But when you fight him, were there things that were exactly like you expected? Were there things that maybe weren't like you expected? Maybe he hit harder than you even expected, like you kind of mentioning his power. And were there kind of things that he did that you just did not expect him to do at all?
No, I mean he did it all right. I think the basic straight cross, bleed hook, the low kicks, and then I knew if it did hit the ground that he would kind of play a solid, top level positional
Right.
type of ground game. He fought a well-rounded fight. He even knew when to chill out, clinch up, and kind of like not hold me against the cage, but even when I like push it against the cage, he was like holding me there, almost resting. I was like, oh fuck, I gotta separate now. Like he's playing like it's all veteran moves. It was just like he knew how to ride the clock out, and not in a bad way, but in like all right, I felt like I was getting my numbers up, and then he would just capitalize each round. Like he would capitalize towards the end, or like just right out the time. Nothing. I believe it was the third or fourth round, and then in the fourth one, the fifth one, I believe I pushed it against him. We kind of got into a clinch. I tried to land some big elbows, and then in between that, I got caught again. And it was just like, all right, now I'm on Queer Street trying to figure out what was going on. And then I got this guy on my back. I'm like, it was just rough. And but yeah, I mean, I think he landed. He had great defense. He landed a big shot early, and then just picked his spots throughout the fight.
Now, one last question on it. Like, what I like about you as a fighter is you legitimately get better in those tough instances where you have a loss. Like the Pedro Munoz, the Unsunsao losses made you better. We've talked about it in the past too. What were the biggest takeaways from this fight with Jose? Because it feels like those Munoz and Sunsao losses turned you into the top 5 fighter you are. This feels like it will help you know what you need to be a championship fighter. What do you feel you need to slightly tweak to be a championship fighter now?
Yeah, I believe I figured out how to really fight the 5 round fight.
Mm.
Having a little bit more patience. That kind of not trying to do too much too early, because remember you got 5 rounds. Um, and then just tightening up and being super super disciplined with my distance and my defense.
Mm.
Just really tightening up. And then again, just fighting the 5 round fight. And if an opportunity comes to finish the fight, obviously finishing it, but just know that we're going to be there for 5 rounds. All these guys are good. All these guys are conditioned. All these guys are going to be tough. So let's prepare to go the 5 round. Even though you want to get in there and get it out as soon as possible and knock these guys out, but
Yeah.
if that doesn't happen, it's like, all right, let's be smart now. Let's be strategical. Let's like make sure that there is no mistakes. There is no opportunity for him to land that big right hand, and then or get that takedown, or really get into a bad position. You never, like, if you watch the top guys, there's never really a point where like there's like like where there's like it's never really kind of up and down and back and forth. There's always a close fight, and
Yeah.
I want to get to the point where I'm doing that with basic stuff, but winning every single round. But it's a process. I'm getting better, and I feel like I got a lot to show come April 30th.
So I think I can speak for most fans when this bout with you and Cheeto was made. I think we all drooled a little bit because this fight is like fantastic. This is like a perfect kind of fight of just two outstanding, fun fighters. How much have you followed Marlon's rise up the rankings, and have you seen like what having seen what he's done, and at a point you just thought like, yep, one of these days we're probably gonna fight. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, I figured I was familiar with him. I figured one day we would fight. He definitely wasn't on my radar. I wasn't thinking. Obviously, I'm trying to fight guys in front of me. I was hoping, like, I was thinking like that Corey Sandhagen fight made sense. It was both coming off a loss. He's right. He's right. Obviously he's ranked right in front of me, so it's kind of like I was hoping. But we got the Cheeto call. Obviously he's ranked number 8. Um, he's been around for a while. It's a tough fight. So it's a little bit of, we're fighting backwards, but it's still a tough fight. We still got a main event. It's still a lot of exposure. And I feel like, again, this is a great matchup. Like if I can finish him, which he has been finished much, it says a lot, but I don't think it says too much either at the same time, so it's kind of weird. I'm in a weird spot where I got to get, obviously get through this and then still sort of be in the same spot.
Is that kind of part of the frustration and kind of, I guess the downside of being a top 5 fighter, that if people in front of you are booked, there's not a lot of options, and then if maybe one guy who makes sense isn't ready or whatever, now you have to kind of take those fights that maybe even Jose did for you, where it's kind of more the risk, like you are the higher ranked guy, like you're fighting the lower ranked guy, there's more risk for it in for you. Is that part of the downside of being an elite fighter? Like these kind of things happen if you want to stay busy.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of like, you can say that top 5. There's only a certain amount of guys you can
Yeah.
fight, certain situations, and then obviously coming off a loss, you can't really demand too much. So it's like, I'm just happy we're getting back in. I'm happy I'm not sitting around too long either. So that's pretty. I'm pretty happy about that. But it is technically fighting backwards. But to me, it's another main event, another time to go out there and have fun and show my improvements. And I want to get in there and really just really like make it like a one-sided fight. And,
Yeah.
and I believe Cheeto's a guy to do that on.
Was there any reason? Because like you said, the Corey Sandhagen fight made the most sense. I was planning to ask about that later. Was there any reason given by the UFC like why that fight didn't happen? It just seems the most logical, especially where you guys are ranked.
Honestly, I didn't even ask. Like, we didn't even, the UFC approached my manager. It wasn't even like we went and talked to them trying to get in a fight. It was, hey, we need a main event April 30th. What are you thinking about, Cheeto? I was like, they called me, and I was just like, I talked to my manager about it. I was just like, I don't know what they're doing, but I think it's a great fight. And he gave me his reasons. He gave me obviously the pros and cons to it, and then and we accepted. But yeah, no, it was just, I'm one of those guys. I'm pretty easy, man. Like, you call, so like there wasn't really any pushback on our end. It was like, all right, my manager talked about why this and why not, but when it came to it, like in 2 hours, Sean already got the call. Like, we're in. So
What is interesting about this fight is both of you are fighters that kind of like to push forward, like to have a pressure and stuff like that, which means this fight could be a car wreck in the middle of the octagon, or someone has to take a step back. I don't think taking a step back is a bad thing. It's smart. You have to be smart, technical at the highest levels. It isn't a proving ground in that way for toughness.
Yeah.
Are there things you learned in the Aldo fight where he kind of was able to go against your, combat your pressure, and have seen also in Marlon's fight against against Jose Aldo, where he again combated the pressure, where you kind of like, you know what, these are the learning lessons, this is me becoming a championship fighter, and in a way kind of want to switch the tables on Marlon, like, you want to pressure, all right, let's pressure, but I know the tricks to beat pressure.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, I want to definitely be in control of this whole fight. If it's pressure and it's on my terms, if it's a little slower pace, it's because I'm slowing it down. I don't want this guy to dictate anything. And then when he does think he's about to, dictate and get off anything, I'm either not there or we're closing the gap. I really do believe that if I'm disciplined and I'm real sharp with my defense, I'm gonna have a pretty successful night. Just keeping him at range with the jab and then finding my shots. But again, I want to also, like, for myself, I want to get in there and fight the 5-round fight if needed to be. But I say that now, he's going to care. He hits me, and it's like whatever. We start. It's that car crash you're talking about. So, that's the hard part. I mean, I think we're like these guys, like, they can kind of like control that shit and just be like, nah, this is what I'm doing. You saw it in Dominic Cruz. Like when his last fight, when he fought Pedro Munoz, he had a rough round and just slowly being in the better positions and picking it apart and getting better. He obviously wins the round. So it's like, I want to be even in that situation where I do get hurt again in the first round and then slowly pick it back up and just win the fight. Figure out what you got to do to win the fight. And it's usually something simple and basic. It's easier when you're sitting home than when you're in there. But it's that's the hard part. Once you clear your head together, get it all together, and figure out what you got to do to win that fight. That's when you get closer to those belts and all that. So I think this last fight showed that that's where I got to tighten up on.
And I think you nailed it. And this fight feels like you can be more technical. You can out technique him, because as he's a very skilled fighter, but he's not like Adesanya where he's gonna dominate people technically. There are times where even in fights he wins, his opponents will win moments, win rounds. There were moments where Davey Grant, Frankie Edgar looked good against him in rounds and stuff like that, and won rounds. Are there things now that you're fully into scouting and preparing for this fight that you look at him like, yeah, these are, I know he's good, he's 8 in the world, but these are clear areas I can exploit?
Yeah, I mean, I think just his basic, the way he shows up. Like you see it all the time. Like a lot in the Jose Aldo fight, the way he shows up and kind of backs up. Cheeto's the type of guy, he needs chaos. He needs chaos in the fight, and he needs that. And if I'm not giving it, if I'm being disciplined, I'm not giving him that chaos, and I'm not giving him those scrambles. He gets frustrated. You see it a lot. Like he does get frustrated. So, going out there being the smoother, slicker, more patient, sharpshooter, I think will frustrate him to open him up and make sure he does something big, because he does throw like a lot of like empty kicks. He'll either kick but just by itself with no hands behind it or even feints behind it. He'll just kick. So, obviously if I can make him miss, make him pay, and get him backing up, getting shelling up, and then biting all on my feints and whatever I'm throwing at him, I do believe I can make this an easy night. Or if I need to just do that same exact thing, just rinse and repeat it all 5 rounds.
And going back to the Corey Sandhagen and stuff like that, assuming you win this fight, there are options maybe like a Dominic Cruz or Merab Dvalishvili. Like, are those fights as interesting, or at this point, considering you just took the risk, fought somebody low in the rankings, if it's, you kind of almost would rather wait and get someone higher in the rankings than take this risk? Or you know what, if it comes again, I don't want to sit around, you'll take the risk. Because Dominic Cruz is a risk, it's like a still big
that's the thing, though. You get those names, you get a name like Cruz, it's hard to say no, especially when, you got injuries and like title shots and you're talking title shots, and, it could be you could be waiting for a year, sitting around, or you can fight 2 or 3 times, so it's tricky, but, then obviously, hopefully everything goes clean and I'm out of there clean, and I'm not, so obviously I'm focused on this fight and getting the W and everything. Obviously, once everything goes smooth, um, definitely still thinking in right, fighting forward, fighting the guy in front of me. But you never know.
Quick, two quick ones. Because they're major fights. Getting your opinion on it because you're one of the top fighters in the division. Thoughts on how Sterling Jan is gonna go next week, and also if Aldo versus Dillashaw gets made official, what are your thoughts on those fights?
Man, I think that Aldo Dillashaw will be pretty interesting. I think that'd be a high level. Both veterans, both been around, both ex champions. So I think that'd be a great fight. Definitely interesting how that plays out. And then as far as the championship, I think it's going to be similar to the last one. I think Peter takes this one. He's Chris. He's patient, and he can wrestle. And we're going to see how. Obviously, I'm interested to see how Aljamain bounces back. And I do believe people do bounce back off of losses even better. So we'll see. But I'm going with the champ on this one.
He's having a situation where his coaches can't get into the country because of visa. Like, as a fighter, if Tyson wasn't there and you had to go with some other coaches, what would that be like? Is it as difficult as we would assume? Is it not? Is it somewhere in the middle? Like, what are your thoughts on, like, your coaches can't.
It definitely will be difficult. Definitely be awkward. I think obviously as a professional you'll figure it out and do what you got to do. But I think like in a perfect world, it would never happen. But yeah, that'd be a tough one because you gotta just kind of like go with obviously somebody you don't know,
Yeah.
and go with somebody. Obviously, it's gonna be a lot of what you're seeing, and so hopefully, do you know who's going to corner him?
No, not yet. I mean, I know there's some people that have suggested Habib or Uriah Faber or something like
Yeah.
that, but I don't think he has anybody yet.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he can get at least like somebody he's always familiar, like a manager or somebody like that,
Yeah.
or at least get some familiar. And then and we'll see. But then again, like I think just the fight week process and stuff like that would be the hardest part of like not having that team camaraderie
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And maybe even like I would say the hard part, maybe even cutting the weight, not having your head guy and your boys there. So that could be hard. But I think once he gets going, he's gonna be fine. He'll be fine. He'll do his thing. It could be a little weird at first in the corners, but I think once he gets out of 2 rounds, it's gonna be clicking. And he's gonna be out there doing what he has to do.
Now, last question. One of the parts I love about your career and I enjoy is you openly sharing the journey with your girlfriend. And now she has, been in your corner for these last 2 main event fights because you get that extra corner person with main events. Now, first, is it, because this is the crazy thing, like there's websites now that can give you her history because she knows you and stuff like that. Now, one website mentioned, is it true that you've been with her or at least known her since 7th grade? And also, how fun is it to share this journey, this UFC spotlight, these main event moments with someone that was there all the way in the beginning when there was nothing like UFC spotlights?
Yeah, so she would I would see her basically like every summer when we were younger. She'll come and her cousin and some of her family lived in the same neighborhood I did in Florida. So she would come out every summer, and then obviously after high school we got a little bit more serious. But she's like she's one of those like person that can really give you every single detail from the beginning to like even to the point where I even started watching MMA. It was to the point where like she saw the whole thing, like from the point where I even figured out what MMA was, what I wanted to do, like what jiu-jitsu was, why I even went to the one. She everything, like, and then now she's like basically obviously like one of my coaches. She'll obviously nutritionist, best friend, future wife. Like she does it all. Like off fight week, she cooks for me, Calvin. She cooks and hydrates all of our younger guys. She gets it. She gets it on fight week. She gets it on fight date, obviously. She's been around, and again, like I said, she's my best friend. I've known her since we were younger, so it's pretty cool to kind of like go through this process together.
What's going on, Rob? When you gonna put the ring on her, Rob? What's happening here? This is taking too. I'm surprised she's not going crazy and driving you crazy.
Yeah, she definitely deserving. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen for sure.
Is there any thoughts? Are you gonna go like, all post win? While that's cheesy, that's still awesome, or are you already manifesting some interesting plans for this season?
I got some special plans. I just want to make sure, I just want to make sure that it's all right. I want to go big with this one, so
Yeah.
like I want to go big. So with her, like I need a couple of those bonus checks. So.